Your to-do list is not a plan, but it's often treated that way, which leaves you still feeling overwhelmed and burned out even if you crossed off a bunch of items. So let's fix that. The to-do list is a dumping ground for everything that's living in your head. Or, if you're like me, lived in my head at one point, but I totally forgot about that awesome thing I should have done until I reread it later and I'm like, oh yeah, I should have done that. Having a place to gather all these things is not a bad thing. Hustle culture teaches us to be go, 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 that we are so paranoid about stopping for even 1 second. So we end up skipping the part that makes us more productive. This is video 3 of my time blocking series. Quick reminder on the definition we're working with for this series. Time blocking is where you divide your day into specific time slots and then assign each block a job. As Cal Newport says, give every minute of the day a job. Time blocking works because it reduces decision fatigue, it protects focus time, it limits how reactive we are. Here are the steps to take that to-do list and turn it into time blocking. It's a way to take the big list of what could be done and convert it into what actually deserves attention today. Step 1 is to prioritize. You have a million things to do, but which ones should you be doing? You certainly have the tasks that feel the loudest, but that's not a good enough filter. So there's a simple framework I first learned about 20 years ago when I read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen R. Covey. I've heard this framework also referred to as the Eisenhower Matrix. I don't care what you call it, but here it is. So you have this table, it's 2 by 2. On the top, you have urgent, not urgent. And on the left, you have important and not important. So the top left quadrant is your urgent and important. These are the tasks you need to get done right away, or ASAP, as people like to say, even though ASAP means as soon as possible, but you use it in place of immediately. And that for sure is not a pet peeve of mine. The top right quadrant are your important, not urgent tasks. And these are the ones that, without taking the time to do this, get delayed and delayed. These have to be scheduled into your time blocks and then honor your schedule. These tasks are the one that set you apart from your competitors. Okay, now the bottom right quadrant, those are the urgent, not important. So let's talk about this bottom row, this whole bottom row for a second, because if something isn't important, how urgent can it really be? Well, this isn't important, but you gotta get it done right away. But it isn't important, exactly. It's absolutely unnecessary. But right now, I gotta do it right now? Yep, get it done right now. So I prefer to add something to give us better clarity. Important to current strategic initiatives and not important to current strategic initiatives. I purposely don't call them goals because I've been in business long enough to know that you constantly have short-term goals and long-term goals. And depending on the season, your strategic initiative can change from one that is short-term to one that is long-term. But it doesn't mean the other goals aren't still there. But it's better to try and focus actions on one thing at a time. Okay, back to the bottom right quadrant. Urgent, but not important to current strategic initiatives. Things that the business needs to get done, but its efforts won't move you closer to hitting the current goal you're focused on. You need to focus on the important stuff. So these tasks, you're going to want to delegate. My favorite quadrant is the bottom left, not important and not urgent. When you find something that goes into this box, you don't just ignore it, you delete it off your list. Oh, the sweet chemical of dopamine. Cross that puppy off, feels good. This simple matrix probably has been around since the time of Socrates. It's still the best way today to determine your priorities because each quadrant tells you how to handle those tasks. And the top row of the important tasks need to be time blocked, which is where we look at the second step for getting the to-do list into time blocks. We need to look at how much time each of these tasks are going to take. And we aren't going to make the mistake that I covered in video 1 of this time blocking series. We're going to give an honest, practical estimate of time, not the optimistic estimate when we are on our best day. And then, based on video 2, we're going to make sure that we are also time blocking recovery blocks based on how long we estimated our focus block to take. And then back to what you learned from the first video, you are also going to allow enough white space between your time blocks. Boom. What a beautiful schedule you have there. A realistic target for the 3.3 rule is to have about 6 hours total of combined focus blocks and white space during the day and around 2 hours of recovery blocks. A quick word about grouping to-do list tasks by type. This isn't a bad thing, but as you can see, it isn't part of the foundational steps to convert that to-do list into a successful time blocking schedule. When possible, go ahead and group these by type. This, though, is closer to batch processing than it is time blocking. And while you most certainly can time block a batch processing block, the two are not mutually exclusive. So the admins for my tax firm can do the batch processing time blocks more than other positions in my company. For example, at the beginning of tax season, an urgent, important task is gathering source docs from tax clients. So they put more of the admin team doing that one task, and each individual admin during their time blocks will focus exclusively on just doing the one thing of gathering source docs. Prioritize your to-do list with the simple 4-quadrant matrix. Be honest about how long each task will take you, build in recovery blocks, allow white space, and you now have a time-blocked life. Do this consistently, and you will stop feeling behind all the time. You're no longer staring at a list that never ends. And the most important part, you took control. You're executing on a plan you chose, including the time of day you're going to stop the work and return to life. In some form, freedom is knowing exactly what you're doing today and being at peace with what's not getting done. Sounds like taking your life back to me. Go enjoy that family dinner, say goodbye to irritable home syndrome, and hello to happy time. The next video in the series is going to go over why leaders and successful CEOs obsess over this and how they time block. Remember, the point of this series is getting your life back. And this is part 3 of the series. I'll see you in the next one.